Hello and welcome to Laird Wellness Live. Scott
Good
Laird,
evening.
Jody Laird.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hi there. We're going to talk about fish oil tonight. Not just any fish oil. We're going to talk about cod liver oil.
Yes.
We were introduced to cod liver oil by Dr. Tom Lewis, who does our blood tests for our Biologic Blueprint program.
Yes.
And if you've never heard about that, we'll put it up on the screen here so you can see about that. We have a free half-hour session where you can call us. You'll talk to me directly and we'll tell you all about the program, see if it's right for you, determine what your goals are, really who you're doing it for, because usually, you know what, it's not usually for you. When we find out why you want to do it and you really think about it, all of a sudden it turns into, no, I actually wanted to do it for my sick mother who I'm taking care of. That's who I'm really doing this for. It ends up being for somebody else. So really it goes beyond you, and it's, let us help you help whoever is important in your life, and we help you sort of bring that out and determine who you are really getting healthy for. And you may not even know there's anything up with you. You may just say, you know what, I got low energy, I'm not sure why, or I've had this and that in the past. Let's do a blood test to find out. I mean, that's really the only way we can find out. So that's why we have the blood test as the corner of our program. And right now we're offering a free addition to that blood test. What it is COVID markers. And Jody, if you could explain, I think there's like 11 different markers that we look at?
10 actually. But it really has nothing to do with if you have gotten the
jab,
or not gotten it, whether you're going to get it or not. It has to do with your risks. So we look at, for instance, D-dimer, which takes a look at your blood, and other markers.
So what is
just
D-dimer?
like that.
Is that like a thickness of the blood? What is that? D-dimer.
Well, that is not my specialty.
We just know if it's up, there's an issue.
If it's up, there is an issue.
Okay.
Yes, and it is an important marker, that's for sure. And so if you have had the jab, it's actually a really good idea to test it to see where you're at after the jab. And if you haven't had the jab, it's a really good idea to test it to see where you're at, to see if, well, maybe you should or shouldn't get it.
Okay, very good. So people who are having that bad, or that really important decision, I was going to say bad decision, but that really important decision put on you by your workplace, maybe it's a good idea to take a look at that. So we can help you determine your risk factors, and it goes through the same algorithm that Dr. Lewis does with our other blood tests.
Yes.
And that's how we determine what your risks are, and it's a really interesting process, but we won't spend any more time on that now. You can give us a call or go online and we can call you, that is. Go to lairdwellness.com/blueprint and we can call you and set that up and we can tell you all about it. But for right now...
But wait, it's a $445 test.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they're getting that. Our people who sign up with us are getting that.
Wow. Okay, very good.
For a lot less, including our whole program.
Wow,
so
okay.
Great
so
deal.
That's awesome. All right, so cod liver oil. The Weston A. Price Foundation, that is a very important foundation if you ever heard of that foundation. They're very big on natural health, and they've established a lot of things that folks are still use as the cornerstone of their health today. They had actually mentioned cod liver oil as a superfood. And when we think of superfood, we think of superfoods as like spirulina and
kale, cacao, goji berries.
Yeah, all those type of things that, David Wolf, our friend David Wolf, I call him our friend David Wolf now because we met him at the Truth About Cancer conference. We love David Wolf. He's an awesome guy, and I hope to someday have him on a program that I do or somewhere along the line. We want to talk to the guy. We want to get involved with this guy. Anyway, he talks about all those type of things that Jody just mentioned as superfoods. But guess what the Weston A. Price Foundation said? They said, for growing children and for almost every disease condition, no matter what age you are, cod liver oil is the #1 superfood.
Wow.
Cod liver oil.
I'm sold.
The supplement of choice. So that is really, I mean, for folks who have never considered that may seem really weird. Like that was sort of the thing that grandma shoved into your face.
I remember it.
Yeah, you had cod liver oil?
I did, and I don't remember for how long, but I remember taking it, and I remember burping hours later and how awful it was.
Well, for a good thing, we're going to show you a little later on tonight. We will show you a cod liver oil that does not taste like cod, nor does it taste really like any kind of fish oil at all. It tastes like lemon. It's
not your grandma's fish oil anymore.
There you go. Yeah, right? It just tastes like lemon. And even if you get some on the outside of the bottle and, a couple of weeks later in the fridge, you might get it on your hand and you might, you get it on your hand, it smells like fish. Not even that smells like fish. It still smells like lemon. It's incredible. Anyway, so fish oil has really changed. Cod liver
Yes.
oil has really changed. But the benefits of it have remained for over 1,000 years. And you know, the Vikings used to use it. Now, a lot of the information we're going to tell you tonight comes directly from Dr. Tom Lewis. So first of all, props to Dr. Tom for showing us all this stuff, and we basically summarize it, and we want to show you a few things. But all this is based on his research, so we don't want to take credit for that. But anyway, he demonstrated that the Vikings used it for on their joints, and they took it as a supplement. Now, why would they take it as a supplement? Well, you know, the Vikings were Norsemen, right, from the north end of the hemisphere in Europe, and of course they didn't have sunshine in the summer. So they had to get vitamin D somehow, and so you know, they didn't recognize it as vitamin D, but they recognized that it was a healthful thing to do in the winter. How they figured that out, whether God revealed that to them or what, I don't know, but they used it. And lo and behold, it has a great amount of vitamin D in it, and it can be used as a vitamin D supplement. It can also be used for a vitamin A supplement, vitamin D supplement, vitamin K supplement, vitamin E supplement. Why? Because all of those are, if you remember, our acronym for a fat-soluble vitamin or an oil-soluble vitamin, a DEK. What do you stain a DEK with? Oil. A-D-E-K. Vitamins A, D, E, K. Those are the fat or oil-soluble vitamins. Right. These are the ones that your body hangs on to a little bit. The other water-soluble vitamins, like all the B vitamins and the C, vitamin C, they are used up by your body, and then your body excretes the rest. That's why if you notice you're on a B vitamin and you go to the bathroom a few hours later, you might notice that your urine is really bright yellow. That is your body saying, okay, we've used up all the vitamin B that we need for today, and get rid of the rest. And that's why it comes out a very bright yellow color. So anyway, these fat-soluble vitamins are all in cod liver oil. Now, what's the difference between cod liver oil and fish oil? Well, fish oil is it's known for being highly processed. And when I worked at the Hallelujah Diet, we had a fish oil because they recognized that with a vegan diet, the Hallelujah Diet said, you know, there are some things missing, and maybe we can supplement with a fish oil by doing that. So they had a very high processed fish oil. And the reason why it's high processed is so that you remove all of the toxins, because you know, inherently fish have a lot of toxins, but the smaller the fish, the fewer the toxins. The higher you go up in the food chain, that's where all the toxins build up. That's why some dietary programs don't recommend ahi tuna or grouper or any of these kind of big fish because they are carnivores and they eat other fish. So as you know, you go up the food chain, there's more and more mercury and other toxins in the fish. Now, why is there more mercury in the ocean? Well, just as an aside, you know, people like to eat lobster, crabs, crawfish, all those bottom feeders and clams and mussels and oysters and all that type of stuff. People like to eat that kind of stuff, and that's getting more and more popular in the world. But guess what? God invented those things as the garbage trucks, if you will, of the ocean. So they're supposed to clean up the ocean. We are not supposed to eat those things. At least if you follow the Old Testament and you look at the dietary laws, those aren't just for Jewish folks, okay? That's are just common sense things, because if you look at all those animals and you do, you know, modern scientific research on those animals, they are the ones that you don't want to eat. Those are the ones that absorb toxins, or they have other kind of toxic things in their bodies that maybe we shouldn't be eating. There's lots of other animals we could eat that are far more healthful. And so what happens is when these animals, the crustaceans, get very popular and people eat them, you know, they kind of get fished out. You hear this problem in the world that our oceans are kind of being fished out, and to some degree that is true, especially when we talk about the bottom feeders. Now, if the bottom feeders are absorbing all of these toxins, and people are eating all these toxins, hopefully you're not one of them, what happens? Well, if the garbage trucks are not there, what happens to the garbage? It piles up. Mercury is one of those toxins, one of the pieces of garbage. It's not that mercury has suddenly appeared in the oceans. One of the primary things that a volcano under the water will spew, and has been for however many thousands of years the Earth has been around, is mercury.
Not even get into that.
No, let's not even get into that. But it's been mercury. Mercury's always been in the ocean, but there have been bottom feeders to take care of it. But we're fishing out the bottom feeder. So where does it end up? In the bigger fish, like tuna. That's why it's become a problem. So if you want it to not be a problem, stop eating bottom feeders. Anyway, long story short, cod liver oil is different. It is not a highly processed fish oil. It is actually a minimally processed fish oil. Instead of being taken from the flesh of fish. It is taken from specifically the livers of the fish. Now you might think, ew, liver. I thought liver was like was a filter for the body. Isn't that where all the toxins would kind of end up and stay? No, actually, the liver is actually full of vitamins and nutrients. Kidneys are kind of, that dirty area that you wouldn't want to touch, but liver is actually very helpful to have. And that's why organ meats are actually a very good idea, especially from grass-fed or otherwise free-range type of animals like chickens, like chicken livers, beef liver, that kind of thing. I guess there's lamb liver. Never heard of such a thing, but you can eat these things, and they're very helpful. They have a lot of vitamins and nutrients. They're actually, we talk about having nutrient-dense food, and usually we talk about kale and those type of things. Well, livers are actually a very nutrient-dense food.
Right.
As a former vegan, I have to admit that.
Yep.
And we enjoy. We've enjoyed chicken livers in the past and that type of thing.
Yeah. Hey, my grandma used to make liver at least once a month.
Yeah.
And
As long as it's not pork liver or something.
Liver
right?
and onions with mustard.
Mm-hmm. Now, usually that was probably like a pork liver, though.
No, we never did pork liver. We did beef liver.
You did beef liver.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, very good. So there you go. Yeah, you wouldn't want pork liver, but for the reasons we mentioned before, that's one of the garbage trucks. That's the garbage truck of the land is pork. You don't want to eat that. Anyway, so it's been used for thousands of years. It's great for rickets because it has vitamin D. So check this out. Vitamin D, cod liver oil, sunlight, and rickets. A historical perspective. This is from 2003. Check out the highlighted copy there. With the discovery of vitamin D and the delineation of the anti-ricketic properties of cod liver oil by the 1930s, it became possible to not only treat but also eradicate rickets in the United States. Not from a supplement of vitamin D necessarily, but from having cod liver oil, which had vitamin D in it. So a lot of great nutrients in there. They also use cod liver oil in poor countries. Those countries that hardly have 2 dimes to rub together to feed their kids, that type of thing. Well, the richer countries are taking cod liver oil down to those countries and feeding it to the kids because it's helping them eradicate eye diseases down there to the tune of something like 2 cents per dose. Because of the vitamin A in cod liver oil, that helps the eyes. A lot of vitamin A helps the eyes. You've heard of retinol? So that is vitamin A. So, of course, you don't want to have an overdose of vitamin A, but that won't happen with cod liver oil because it's in the oil in such a composition that you can't overdose on vitamin A by taking an appropriate amount of cod liver oil, but you'll sure get enough of it. And it can actually help your eye health. You tell the story of our son and his eyes and cod liver oil.
Well, he has dry eyes. I mean, he hasn't been diagnosed with it or anything like that, but he's always complaining about his eyes. And for a while there, he is a boy of a certain age, and he was putting Visine in his eyes every day. And I'm like, what is going on? Yeah. What is really going
17-year-old, which shouldn't be happening, right?
No. So anyways, he just said, my eyes are always bugging me and they always feel dry and I always feel like I have to put stuff in it. And then we started working with Dr. Lewis and we're like, why don't we try the cod liver oil for you? We were taking it already. So he started taking it and within a couple of weeks he was like, Mom, my eyes are not dry anymore. So no kidding. Of course, he's a boy of a certain age. So he goes to the fridge every day and he makes sure he takes his cod liver oil, but he literally just opens it and he pours it in his mouth and puts it back in the fridge like a good 18-year-old boy does.
Hey, at least he's doing it. I don't care as long as he's doing it. But it's not a placebo effect. I mean, he literally had to put Visine in his eyes, and now he doesn't. He's not imagining it. It's happening. It is actually making his eyes better and moisturizing his eyes.
Yep.
So it's good for that. It's also good for arthritis. Go figure. Check this out. So this is another study from 2008, which shows that 39% of rheumatoid arthritis sufferers who took cod liver oil reduced their use of anti-inflammatory meds by 30%. How about that?
Wow.
30%. So that is a lot. So, it won't help you maybe reduce all of your meds from rheumatoid arthritis, but how'd you like to go off 30% of it? Right. How'd you like to reduce it? Not all drugs are bad. Sometimes drugs can help us get through life until we can figure out what's going on and try and do something a little more natural to mitigate that. But for short-term use, I mean, I have no problem using a drug here and there for like whatever you need to. If you can't solve the problem and you need to, get a jump on it and just sort of tell the body to calm down for a little bit, inflammation or whatever it's doing. I mean, I'll use that once in a while if I can't figure it out. Like until I can get to, if I know that I've got a headache, for example, and I know that a certain vertebrae is out in my neck, and I know this because, I just know it. If I get a certain headache and I'm like, oh, I've got a headache in my eye, I know that it's number C2 back here. Until I can get to a chiropractor, I might take a couple of ibuprofen or something like that until I can make the appointment, get to the chiropractor, and take care of it naturally. Then I don't need the ibuprofen anymore, right? It's not like I'm going to be on the drug forever. That's not the idea of drugs. It was never the idea of drugs. The idea of a drug is to get through something until you can figure out what to really do about it.
Right.
Okay, so this is a reduction in the arthritic medications by 30% by just using cod liver oil.
Right. And
I
you
say
got
it's
to
a pretty good
remember,
trade-off.
even back in the day, though, ibuprofen was not really considered a drug. It was something natural from a tree,
Oh, the willow bark.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That we used back then, but then
That
they
was
turned
aspirin.
Oh,
Yep.
either way, then they turned it into a drug. Most drugs were made from natural things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you look at things like the coca leaf, which if a coca leaf is chewed at high altitudes, it helps people get over altitude sickness when they're climbing mountains and things like that. In like the mountains of Peru or whatever. We had a friend who used to go down to Peru all the time, and that was what the native people would do. They would chew a coca leaf and go up the mountain. Now you think coca leaf, isn't that what cocaine is made from? Yes, it is. So here, just like anything else, that can be abused. So it can be used as a very functional, natural medicine to help climb mountains and, go, pick the coffee beans or whatever they were doing up there. And very natural, goes into the body, goes out of the body, no problem. But if you refine it and you concentrate it and you abuse it, well, yeah, then cocaine's not a useful thing.
Right.
Same thing with heroin. Well, the poppy seed can be used, as a medicine as well. But don't concentrate and make heroin out of it. Same thing with like cannabis, right? Cannabis can be used very beneficially. And fortunately, there's been a lot of research in that in the last few years. So cannabis can be used very beneficially, or it can be abused. Same way, right? So same thing here, right? You can use a drug, or you can abuse it. And so the way to get around that is to look for natural things like cod liver oil. So let's take a look at another thing here that is very beneficial for type 1 diabetes. Get this. So cod liver oil is anti-infective and it's an antiviral, and including viruses, including type 1 diabetes. First of all, did you know type 1 diabetes has its roots in being a virus? It's a virus. Very interesting. Yes. So use of cod liver oil during the first year of life, i.e. when you're a baby or when you're wanting to have a baby, or if you are in the midst of having a baby, when you're pregnant.
Or you're planning on having
right,
babies.
Or you're lactating, right. So even before you conceive, it is helpful for mom and dad to take cod liver oil. It is also beneficial for mom-to-be when she is pregnant to take cod liver oil. It is still beneficial for mom when she is lactating and feeding said newborn to have cod liver oil, and it is very beneficial for newborns to have cod liver oil.
I tell you,
it is good for everybody. It's good for, and it's obviously good for teenagers, as we just told you, and it's good for older folks for cognitive reasons that we're going to get to in just a second here. But you think about that. Let's think about that just for a second. So we know from working with folks that if you're having depression, or you're having brain fog, or you're having Alzheimer type symptoms, or trouble thinking, or ADHD, or Parkinson's, these are all what? Issues of the brain, right?
Yeah.
Issues of the brain. Now the brain is primarily made up of what? Most people know this. Fat, right? It's made up of fat. And fat in a liquid form is known as oil. So, would it make sense to augment the brain with what the brain is made of? Oil.
Yeah.
Yes. There's helpful oils and there are harmful oils, just like the coca leaf versus cocaine, right? One is useful, one is abusive. So, the omega-6 oils that you get from canola, corn, safflower, all these peanut, all that type of thing, those things are very high in omega-6 fatty acids, which too much of that is kind of like getting on the edge of being abusive. So now you're going to hurt your brain with those type of oils. Cod liver oil, which is minimally processed, it is processed still to a certain degree, but it's minimally processed, very high in omega-3s, is beneficial for the brain. So you see how this sort of dichotomy exists with certain choices of whatever oil you're going to choose. So the next time you go to the store and you look at those tortilla chips, and of course they're cooked in corn oil, maybe you need to give up tortilla chips altogether and figure out another crunchy alternative, because that is just not good for you. When you go to the grocery store, that's just a thing we teach everybody, is one of the first things is read the label. You need to get into the habit of every time you go to the grocery store, if something's in a package, read the front. If it seems good to you, okay, that's good. Don't believe it, turn it around.
Don't believe what it says on the front.
Right, read the ingredients. If there's ingredients you don't understand, put it back on the shelf. Make sure you understand everything. We have a whole presentation on this, on how to read labels. It's part of our little program we told you about in the beginning. But we need to get in the habit of reading labels so we know we're not ingesting these oils, especially corn, canola, and cottonseed. These ones are the ones that are, well, first of all, they're very high in omega-6 fatty acids, which we talked about, which are not beneficial. Second of all, they are they're the ones that are mostly high, what I'm trying to say, most often genetically modified.
Yeah.
So cotton, corn, canola, they're mostly GMO.
Highly inflammatory.
And so is actually refined sugar you want to stay away from as well, because a lot of refined sugar, most people don't know this, comes from sugar beets. People think sugar cane. In the US, usually it's sugar beets, and a lot of sugar beets are genetically modified. Now, the fact that they're genetically modified may have some, problems inherent to being genetically modified, but my concern is not so much with that, it's what they're genetically modified for. They're genetically modified to resist the application of herbicide, which kills weeds, or pesticide, which kills bugs or small rodents or whatever. That's what pesticides are. So if they're genetically modified to resist these things, then what's to stop the farmer from spreading more and more of these poisons on the plant if it's not going to kill it, because it's genetically modified to resist those things? Right. So wow, they kind of like free for all. Spray it again, spray it again, spray it again, spray it before harvest, spray it after harvest, spray it while the field is fallow. Spray, 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 spray. What happens is they not only, have these toxins in the plant, which then get, of course, down the line into the corn oils, the safflower oils, into the sugar, or whatever it ends up being, but it also gets into the soil and kills the microorganisms in the soil.
Right.
Now we don't have an ecological balance in the soil. Now we got problems inherent there. Now we have to put fertilizer on, blah, 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 blah. It never ends.
Yep.
So avoid GMO foods and those things that could be GMO foods, because they don't have to label it as GMO. They can choose to label it as non-GMO if it is indeed not GMO, and that's where the non-GMO project comes in. But we'll save all this for another presentation.
Yeah, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, so a whole other story. I'm getting off track. I'm sorry. So the cod liver oil is also good for cardiovascular disease. Just as we use oil to oil the brain, if you will, to create some viscosity in the brain, to lubricate the brain, that's the word I'm looking for, to lubricate the brain, we also need to lubricate our vessels, our blood vessels. And you might think, well, isn't oil bad for our blood vessels? Not if it's the right kind of oil. And cod liver oil is that right kind of oil. That kind of oil will make your blood vessels more supple. It actually does something on a molecular level that will actually make the blood vessels less stiff and more pliable. That's what we want, right? We have pliable vessels when we're young, and it shows up when we're old, because usually if we don't treat them well, they're going to get old and crusty, and then we end up with hard arteries.
Does the same thing with joints. Lubricates your joints so that there's less pain.
Right, less inflammation.
Sponginess.
Sponginess, yes, more sponginess, yes.
And a lot of people take vitamin D supplements, or fish oil supplements, but they're taking this little tiny
good
pill.
point. Yeah, go on that. Go ahead.
I just don't think it's enough. We are not taking enough. And the whole low-fat craze that was 20 years ago, it did nothing but injure us. When we all went low-fat, I think a lot of problems popped up in the world.
They did, yeah. And in fact, we went, vegan for many years, and veganism has a lot of benefits.
It helps.
It helps a lot of it.
To a point.
But if
Yep.
you do it for too much, too long, you are missing out on some things. And
Yep.
I appreciate why people go to the vegan diet, because that's the reason we went to the vegan
Well,
diet.
and it's good to
That
cleanse. It's good
it is.
to do a lot of different things. It helped me with my thyroid
Hmm.
immensely for a while.
It did, yeah. And the
Yeah.
problem becomes that if you do it too long, you're missing out on some things. And when you're missing out on those things, sometimes you can actually hurt the arteries. And you can actually, people with low cholesterol who have too low of cholesterol, and go figure this, right? We're always trying to knock down cholesterol. Don't do that. If we have too low of cholesterol, now all of a sudden, cholesterol is what transports a lot of nutrients along your body, right? Dr. Tom Lewis refers to it as soap. Imagine oils riding along soap. And so it's that soap, the cholesterol, that carries the fat-soluble nutrients around the body. Because the body, your blood is essentially a water-based system. And oil and water don't mix. So you've got to have something to carry, something oil-soluble or oil-friendly, that is, to carry it through the body and make it through the body. And that's what cholesterol does. So you need enough cholesterol to transport things like vitamins A, D, E, and K, et cetera, et cetera. There's many other things that it transports through the body, into the cell, back to the liver. Into the cell, HDL, out of the cell, back to the liver, HDL. So that's why you need both of them, right? So you can imagine, I call the HDL the sump pump, by the way. Because if you're putting too much HDL into the cell, well, that's why they say too much HDL is bad. Because you're putting stuff into the cell, but you're not getting it pumped back out. You need the sump pump, HDL, to get it back out of the cell and into the liver. So that's what you can increase with, guess what? Cod liver oil will help you increase HDL and help correct those ratios so that you can have a proper in and out balance into the cell with cholesterol.
Right.
So helps balance cholesterol. How about that? Cod liver oil also helps with white blood cells to help cancer. Get this. We do a test in our world when we test people's blood called NLR, the neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio. Neutrophils and lymphocytes are two of the 5 types of white blood cells. And we need a good ratio of those to tell us whether or not you are suffering from viruses or bacteria. And if that balance is off, then we know something's up. So the NLR ratio needs to be at a certain ratio, and guess what? Cod liver oil will help to do that. It helps to regulate and balance out the white blood cells. And get this, let's read the highlighted stuff there in blue. So a whole year daily use of cod liver oil, so this was like for a whole year long, was associated with lower risk of death in patients with solid tumors of cancer. Because NLR, that neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio, is used to determine whether or not someone has cancer. It's a very good marker to determine what's going on in your blood and the risk of maybe you're starting to develop a cancer without having to do like an MRI and just say, oh, look, there's the tumor, or a biopsy, or a mammogram, or whatever have you. I mean, it's a good risk factor to see where are you on the health continuum, as Dr. Lewis, or the disease continuum. Are you this far along, or maybe only this far along? And how can we help push you back to health without having you get all the way over here and then all of a sudden a artificial thing called a diagnosis appears and you have cancer? Well, you've always had some degree of cancer. How about we just kind of reduce that so that we don't call it cancer anymore, or an artificial thing like a diagnosis is, right? So that's what we want to determine, so that cod liver oil can help balance out that ratio so that we don't ever develop such things, you know? Right. So this is what cod liver...
It's a miracle.
It's really cool.
Like, where has it been all my life?
I know, right?
I just can't believe that it is a superfood.
Here's another thing that our associate, Dr. Tom Lewis, and his associate, Dr. Michael Carter. Dr. Michael Carter really grabbed onto Dr. Lewis's research because he had glaucoma, or still struggles with it. And so he was really interested to see about what Dr. Lewis had to say about the eyes, because Dr. Lewis really has some amazing things to say about the eye. And glaucoma is another thing that, guess what? Cod liver oil can help with. Cod liver oil, potential protective supplement for human glaucoma. How about that? Amazing. Here's another thing cod liver oil can help with. Young kids, upper respiratory tract infections.
Woo.
What are we concerned with right now, right? With this thing floating around for the last year and a half that's plaguing all mankind and everybody's worried about it getting infection. Well, how can you help mitigate a bit of that risk, even with young kids who, are really not much at risk for this thing, and we all kind of know that by now. So it helps to lower the incidence of upper respiratory tract infections, especially in kids. In the blue, it says, in a cluster randomized study of pediatric visits for upper respiratory illness during the winter and early spring, which is when a lot of colds occur. Why? Because vitamin D is low. Duh, we should maybe be putting 2 and 2 together here by now. These nutritional supplements, i.e. cod liver oil, most relevantly here, relevant here, I should say, decreased mean visits subject month by month, visits per subject per month by 36 to 58%. So less visits to the doctor office for colds and flus, essentially, is what that means. So how about that? That's really cool.
Yep.
So there are a lot of other benefits as well that we wanted to bring out here. Just list them off here. We'll put them on the screen. So it can help you reduce triglycerides. So what do we say about cholesterol? We need cholesterol, and we can help improve that balance with cod liver oil. So look what it'll do. It'll reduce triglycerides because your total cholesterol, that number is a calculation that actually involves your triglycerides. So if you want a better number to show your doctor, take some cod liver oil. It'll help reduce the triglycerides. So omega-3 fatty acids in cod liver oil, this is how it works, may reduce blood triglycerides by 15 to 30%, which is a good idea in the first place. It can lower blood pressure.
Yes.
A lot of folks who are getting the jab are having subsequent issues with blood pressure. Why? Because it will thicken the blood, and if the blood gets thicker, it increases the pressure going through the arteries, right? Makes sense. So many studies have found that omega-3 fatty acids may lower blood pressure, especially in people with high blood pressure and high cholesterol.
Right.
Now, increasing HDL cholesterol. Remember, this is the sump pump of the cell. It takes nutrients back out of the cell and takes them to the liver. That's why HDL, high density lipoprotein, is so important. So omega-3 fatty acids in cod liver oil can raise good HDL cholesterol, which is what we want to do. Dr. Lewis likes to see it above 50. Okay, so that's your initial baseline. Get it above 50. And that is linked to a lower risk of heart disease. And there's 2 studies there. Every one of these little numbers here represents a link online to a study where they got these numbers from. It will also help prevent plaque formation. My gosh, what does this stuff not do? It's crazy.
I know.
Animal studies have found that cod liver oil may reduce the risk of plaques forming in the arteries. Plaque buildup can narrow the arteries and lead to a heart attack or a stroke. Yes, that is true. Now, guess what else plaques can do? Dr. Lewis will also be the first to tell you this, that the same plaques that are in your arteries are the same plaque that's on your teeth, which is the same plaque that is in your brain, which causes Alzheimer's, and the same plaque on your eyes, which causes macular degeneration and cataracts.
Yep.
Okay?
All
so
the same.
they're all the same thing, just building up in different areas. In
Just
your brain,
like inflammation.
in your eyes, in your arteries, just like inflammation, right? Inflammation can be anywhere in the body.
Inflammation of your elbow is...
Tennis elbow.
Inflammation of your shoulder is?
Something else.
Bursitis?
Bursitis, sure, whatever.
Itisitis?
So yeah, anything itis, by the way, is inflammation.
Right.
Just by the way. So if you have pancreatitis, that's an inflammation of the pancreas.
Right.
And most often that's due to what you're eating because you're forcing your body to create more enzymes, by the way, over and over and over and over again. And the body's like, "Ooh, I'm tired. Let's inflame this because now there's something happening here. Bring in the immune system to help." Pancreatitis. Okay, so just something to think about.
We got to make sure we talk about what kind of cod liver oil is good. I don't know if you have that on there,
Okay.
but people are asking what kind of cod liver oil is the best. We did talk about Carlson's, but there are others, and it's good to rotate them.
Yeah, it's good to rotate the cod liver oils because they, first of all, they are refined to a certain degree, and so like some of these nutrients are added back in. So we talk about how enriched bread, for example, has nutrients added back in.
Right.
Sometimes that's really damaging and really stupid in the case of bread. In terms of the cod liver oil, it's not such a bad thing because you're putting oil-soluble nutrients back into oil, and it kind of makes sense. So in terms of Carlson's, they have the lowest percentage of vitamin A added back in. And so because of that, you can take a lot of cod liver oil without overdosing, a lot of Carlson's lemon-flavored cod liver oil, by the way, without overdosing on vitamin A and getting a lot more of the other nutrients that are in the oil. And there's a whole bunch of it. Right. And so, yeah, it's good to always rotate these type of things. Just like it's good to rotate your foods. Like we talked about being a vegan for so many years, eating the same thing for so many years. After a while, certain parts of your body kind of shut down because you're not feeding them the right things. So make sure you rotate everything. If you like a particular
probiotics,
rotate your probiotics, right? Because different strains and different brands. Yep. Rotate your cod liver oils because there's different levels of vitamin A and vitamin D in each one. Rotate your vegetables. The best way to do it, and I'm not really good at this either, but I know it. The best way to do it is to rotate your vegetables according to the season. Mm-hmm. Eat what's in season. That's what God has made our bodies able to do. Let me give you one example. So if we harvest wheat, when do we harvest wheat? Typically in the fall, right? Mm-hmm. So fall time. So that would tell you that these grains, which you don't have to refrigerate or anything like that, right? Back in the day, remember when Joseph, back in the Bible, he stored grain for Egypt, and it saved all of Egypt and the surrounding countries for several years of a famine because it was able just to be stored in a cool, dry area. Right. So it's mainly a winter and an emergency type of food. So that's why you shouldn't have a lot of bread in the summer. Well, why would you want to have bread in the summer? Okay, so your body needs vitamin F, which is essential fatty acids, to metabolize the wheat. Now, in the summer, when you get a sunburn, that also requires all available vitamin F is in an emergency situation, goes all to your skin to help your body deal with that sunburn and help to heal it. So vitamin F is also needed there. So if your body is sending all available vitamin F to heal a sunburn, and you eat something that has wheat in it, like pizza or a hamburger bun or something like that, in the summer, when you have a sunburn, and there's no available vitamin F to metabolize that, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have an allergic reaction. Your body doesn't know what to do with it because it's just busy dealing with the sunburn. It can't afford to give you any vitamin F to metabolize that wheat, so it's going to react. It's going to cause what may look like a summer cold or a stomach upset, something like this. And you feel like, oh man, I got a cold in the middle of summer. How can I get a cold in the middle of summer? That's why. Yes, you were getting a lot of vitamin D. Yes, you were taking all the proper supplements that you were supposed to. But guess what? You got a sunburn. You split the energies of your body by taking some wheat, and all of a sudden it reacted. So, long story short, this is why we want to eat in season, right? So wheat products, yeah, mainly for the winter months or in the summer if you're not going to get a sunburn, that type of thing. And that's why things like dark colored berries and watermelon and tomatoes all come out in the summer. Why? Because they have lycopene. Lycopene is good for protecting you from the sun. How about that? That's why we want to have those foods in the summer. So you can see how this works. God's nature is perfect, and we need to follow the season. We just need to follow what nature is feeding us, just like the native people did when hunters and gatherers all around the world thousands of years ago, right? That's what they did. They ate what was in season by hunting and gathering what was available, and if it wasn't available, they were nomads and they moved to a different area where the food was, and it would sustain them. And interestingly, there was a tradition among the folks where we used to live by, the Cree people in Saskatchewan, Canada. And they had a tradition, I'm not sure if it went to all native peoples or what, but they said that wherever they were, whatever ailments came their way living in that area, now we're talking not ailments brought in by the white people from Europe or anything like that, but any kind of ailment that they would suffer naturally from their people, wherever they lived in that area, that they would have the medicines they would need in a 1 mile radius.
Wow. Yeah.
Wherever they were, they could count on the Creator, God, providing what they needed in that area. And that's why they used all the medicinal herbs. And now we've learned over the centuries from these folks what these things are good for. And wherever they lived at that time of year, it was just there because that's where they went to. That's where it was warmer. That's where they ended up, and that's the medicine they had. And God knows what he's doing. Why should we doubt that, right?
Right.
All right, so one other thing. This is really important because we've encountered, I'm not sure why this is plaguing the young people, but it is. And it plagues older people too, but it really bothers me when this plagues young folks. And I can't figure it out. Maybe it's something to do with technology. Maybe it's something to do with, TikTok and Instagram and all the rest of it.
It's probably all of the above, but I also think that nowadays the kids, even the adults, we are not eating as well as we used to.
Right.
I am like obsessed with that.
Yeah.
I
not to mention shutdowns and not being able to converse with one another face to face either. That's not helping.
No.
So what we're talking about is depression. Now, what did we say about the brain? Now, first of all, where is depression localized? Is it in your hand? Is it in your knees? Is it in your chest? No, it's in your brain, right? It affects your thinking. Anything that affects your thinking, ADHD, Alzheimer's, anxiety, depression, all in the brain. What did we say about the brain? Made of fat. What did we say would help that fat? Feeding it more fat, i.e. oil, cod liver oil. Guess what? Check this out. Associations between cod liver oil use and symptoms of depression. This is probably the most important thing I want to bring out in this whole little presentation we're doing. The part in blue at the bottom, let's read it together. The users of cod liver oil in this study were significantly less likely to have depressive symptoms than those who did not use the cod liver oil.
I believe it. And you know what? If you have a thyroid condition like I do that I haven't been able to overcome completely, me personally taking cod liver oil has helped immensely. I have the brain fog that usually comes with thyroid conditions that hasn't gotten under control. But you know as well as I do that I've lost words over the last years, and you always,
Yeah, you don't seem to do that much anymore.
No, I don't. You know why?
Doing the cod liver oil.
I am.
I don't do the cod liver oil like Jody and our son does. I think I need to do more. The more I've been doing research on this program we're doing tonight, I'm like, you know what? I really need to get on making that one of my standard supplements.
You do.
Because
everybody does.
We do all kinds of things, and that's another thing too. Just because you get on a supplement doesn't mean you have to stay on it forever. Do a digestive enzyme here and there. Try a different vitamin D here. Maybe take a break for a while, then do some more. Do some vitamin C, maybe only in cold and flu season, then give it a break. Go back and forth with these things. That's exercising your body's ability and your immune system to react to certain things, okay? You've got to test your system, which means kind of going off of it a little bit and then going back on it. Okay, so you need to do these things. Just like a diet, you can't stay on the same diet all the time. You've got to rotate. We've talked about that already tonight. So exactly, right? You've got to do different things. Yeah. So even when you're doing like a ketogenic diet, you need to take a break once in a while, throw the body some sugar, and then go back off of it. Like do that like once a week type of thing.
And we don't mean like white sugar.
No, I don't mean white sugar. I mean like going on fruit. A little more fruit.
Have a mango.
That kind. And then the next day you kind of back off on it, and the body goes, "Whoa, what did we just do there?" And all of a sudden you create what's called being metabolically flexible. Because usually we're into burning carbs all the time, and we do this fat-based ketone type of thing with a ketogenic diet to sort of break people from that, and then gradually introduce carbohydrates again. You go back and forth, and it becomes a sort of engine piston type of thing going back and forth and back. And now what you've done is your body is no longer taking in carbohydrates and storing them. You're going back and forth and burning it all, burning fats, burning carbs, burning fats, burning carbs. We can talk about that another time, but that's a beautiful thing about switching things up, keeping things interesting, and not staying on the same supplement all the time. But if you've never tried a cod liver oil, we have a really great one. This was brought to us by Dr. Tom Lewis, and this is a wonderful thing. This is a cod liver oil. This is the one we were talking about that doesn't taste like fish. It just tastes like lemon. I swear to you, I hate fish oil that smells like a fish. And I always think it's rancid. Now, Dr. Lewis has told me, don't worry about that. Our noses are very sensitive to cod liver, especially fish oil. And if we smell the slightest bit of fish in it, we think it's rancid. It's not really. It's just our noses are very, very sensitive to that. But regardless, this doesn't even smell like that. I mean, this fish oil, you take it, you burp it up, you get it on your fingers, nothing. It doesn't taste like lemon, or it doesn't smell like fish at all. All you smell and taste is lemon. That's it. And this is, so that makes it a lot more palatable. That's why our son takes it. That's why he just literally just guzzles it. He doesn't even put it in a spoon. So this is a great fish oil to have. We have it. It is the only fish oil we carry. Now, of course, you want to rotate. And after you're done this bottle, go get some other one from another one.
And let me just tell you about the other ones real quickly, just in case you want to start rotating and thinking about that for the future. Rosita's, Green Pastures, Nordic Naturals.
Thank you. I didn't know those brand names. Okay, good.
And then, of course, ours, which is Carlson's.
Carlson Labs, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it is very easy to get to. Just go to lairdwellness.com/cod liver oil, and you will get there. And now, if you are interested in doing the program we spoke of earlier, our Laird Wellness Biologic Blueprint. Why do we call it the Biologic Blueprint? Because we feel that health is very logical. It can be very complicated. Yes, there are tons of details, and people look at us sometimes and go, how do you guys know all this? Well, we've had a lot of years to sort of build up this knowledge, and you're not going to learn it all in a day. However, when you take a look at the body and what it does from a 30,000-foot view, and just, I mean, literally look at what God does with the body and how it works, it's all very logical. Point A leads to point B. Remember that song that, you know, the elbow's connected to the wrist bone's connected to the hand bone, that kind of thing. It's really that logical. You just kind of follow the trail and you kind of get a logic after a while and go, huh, okay, I see what God's doing here and I understand. Like the whole thing about eating in season, and those foods protect you from certain things in those seasons, right? So that's what we need to be learning.
And keeping it simple.
And we keep it simple for you. We explain it like this to everybody else because I like to explain it to folks as I wish someone explained it to me. So I absorb it, I kind of understand it. I'll take all the complicated jargon and all the studies and all that kind of stuff and break it down for myself. Jody does the same thing. And then how I would explain it to myself, I'll explain it to you. So if you'd like someone to sort of guide you through that and help you understand how to avoid disease, how to eat better, how to do whatever you're trying to do in life better than you're doing now, you may be interested in our Blueprint program. And the Blueprint, we call it a Blueprint because Biologic Blueprint, it's about your body, it's logical, and it's blueprinted to exactly you. Everything is tailored to you. The dietary things we put toward you are just for you. Your exercise that we recommend is just for you. It's all very customized, and we put your feet to the fire. We kick your butt week by week if you want us to, and we will keep you accountable week by week to say, okay, what did you do this week? Did you do that? Okay. Did you do what we told you to do last week? We will keep you accountable, and that's what we find most people really want. They want someone by their side teaching them and really just staying there and being with you to help you make sure you do it. So if you're interested in that, we have a free half-hour call. You don't have to do anything at the end of it. We just want to tell you about it, and you can decide to do it or not decide to do it. The call is free, costs you nothing. So go ahead and give it a shot. Go to lairdwellness.com/blueprint, and you can talk to me for half an hour. I will tell you all about it. And in the meantime, we will see you next week. And if we don't... Will we see you next week? We won't see you next week. No, because our daughter's coming to town, so we're not going to do a show next week.
She hasn't been home for a year and a half.
That's right. So
since COVID lockdown.
So if you are a praying type of person, pray for our daughter because she has some interviews coming up with some schools where she is going for a doctorate, and she would very much like to do so at one of these schools. So pray that she is directed to the right school, and we thank you in advance for doing that. Okay, thank you. If we don't see you before the weekend, Shabbat Shalom, and we'll see you next time on Laird Wellness Live, and keep watching our Instagram page for interesting stuff there. We always post stuff there. Thanks again. Night.
Bye-bye.